Welcome back to the channel where we bring you updates and hidden stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and the royal family. We're thrilled to share the latest developments. King Charles has reportedly delivered a sixth and final blunt message to Meghan, following her astonishing list of Diva, like demands to return to the UK. After Meghan Markle allegedly submitted a shocking set of conditions for her comeback to Britain, the king responded with what sources describe as a devastating ultimatum. His reply, a firm, unmistakable, "We do not want you," here goes far beyond a simple refusal. It is said to be a declaration of war, tied to a deeply personal and carefully guarded issue surrounding the true identity of his grandchildren. Now, the monarchy stands on the edge of collapse, and the story of how it reached this point reveals a battle for its very soul, a struggle that could bring an end to the royal family as we know it. The Fortress and the Fury, a list of demands that shook a kingdom. The earliest signs of this royal upheaval didn't come through an official statement, but through a quiet yet audacious list of requirements. Insiders close to the negotiations claim Meghan Markle's proposed return resembles the arrival of a victorious monarch on a state visit, rather than a simple family homecoming. What was meant to be a tour marking the one-year countdown to the 2027 Invictus Games in Birmingham has reportedly spiraled into a clash of egos and logistics. According to sources, the Duchess of Sussex refuses to step foot in Britain unless a series of extraordinary demands are approved, transforming a sporting celebration into a high-stakes display of power and paranoia. Among these conditions is a security operation so extreme that even world leaders might hesitate to accept it. But this is about more than protection. It is about constructing an untouchable bubble, a fortress funded by the British public. Reports claim the Duchess has insisted that 4 entire floors of Birmingham's Hyatt Hotel be sealed off. This is far more than requesting a luxury suite. It is effectively commandeering a large section of a major hotel and turning it into a controlled zone where she and her staff can operate without interference from the outside world. Inside this space, new rules would reportedly apply. Staff would be instructed not to make eye contact, and anyone permitted to speak with her would be required to address her as Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Royal watchers say this demand, despite her and Prince Harry agreeing to stop using the title after stepping down, is not about etiquette, but about status. A signal of the position she left behind and the reverence she still believes she deserves. From there, the security measures grow even more intense. The plan allegedly includes a convoy of luxury vehicles, round-the-clock drivers, and a full police escort from the moment her private jet touches down. Venues hosting the Invictus Games would need to be fitted with bulletproof glass, and armed guards would shadow her at all times, on top of standard protection. This level of security would exceed that provided to Princess Anne or Prince Edward. Both senior working royals, constitutional experts have expressed disbelief, noting that these figures carry out hundreds of public duties each year, often in open spaces, without anything close to such extravagant precautions. Princess Anne, in particular, is admired for her no-nonsense attitude and lack of royal fuss. Many find it absurd that a non-working royal living in voluntary exile in California would seek, and possibly receive, greater protection than the second highest ranking woman in the royal family. Critics say this contradicts the foundation of the monarchy itself: public service in exchange for public support and privilege. Beyond physical security, a personal court would also be imported. Sources claim Meghan intends to bring her own chef, personal assistant, hair and makeup team, and crucially, a public relations unit requiring 4 separate rooms. This is not the setup of someone returning to visit relatives. It is the traveling headquarters of a global brand. Royal historians contrast this sharply with Queen Elizabeth II, who famously traveled with a minimal personal staff, even on major foreign tours. Her focus was duty and diplomacy, not media spectacle. These new demands suggest the Sussexes operate in reverse. The occasion matters less than the performance of their presence, a carefully staged, heavily promoted production, financed by British taxpayers. One source added that the entire visit hinges on the outcome of Prince Harry's ongoing legal battle over his UK security arrangements. Nothing is certain unless that case is decided in his favor. This arrangement is not truly about a visit. It is about control. A father's order, a king's chess move. Buckingham Palace's reaction, particularly King Charles's, has been firm and unmistakable. The wall of royal restraint and diplomacy appears to have finally crumbled under the weight of those audacious demands. Someone familiar with the king's private thoughts says he has been pushed beyond his limits. The reported remark, "We do not want you here. Love," lands as both a public and deeply personal rebuke. It is not the language of a monarch addressing a subject, but of an exhausted father closing a door left ajar for far too long. For a man who has spent his entire life navigating the perilous balance between duty to the crown and loyalty to family, this blunt rejection marks a dramatic shift. It suggests his patience, even with his own son and daughter-in-law, has finally been exhausted. According to palace insiders, this emotional breaking point is rooted in something far more painful. The king's fury, they claim, traces back to a previous request he made to the couple, one intensely private. He is alleged to have asked for something in exchange for supporting Archie and Lilibet's claims to titles and inheritance rights. DNA confirmation that the children are biologically his grandchildren. Within palace circles, this was reportedly viewed as a necessary safeguard, a step to protect the line of succession from future doubt. But the Sussexes were said to be outraged. They allegedly branded the request a devil's command, an unforgivable insult aimed at their children and their family. In response, sources claim Meghan made a personal vow. King Charles would never enjoy a close relationship with his grandchildren in California. To understand how explosive this alleged exchange was, one must look into Charles's mindset. He became king in his 60s, his reign forever shadowed by his mother's legacy and the long, painful fracture within his own family. He has always spoken publicly of his deep love for both his sons. Yet he also presides over an institution more than 1,000 years old, one that survives only through continuity, tradition, and a clear, unquestioned line of succession. Even the smallest uncertainty to such a system is a threat. It may sound cold, but his supposed demand for DNA proof could be interpreted as a king performing his duty, removing a variable to protect the crown from the sort of constitutional disasters that crippled other European monarchies. Harry and Meghan, however, reportedly saw it as unforgivable. Harry has long spoken about his trauma and his fierce need to protect his family. From his perspective, such a demand would feel like his father doubting his wife's integrity, and even his own identity. For Meghan, who has long portrayed herself as an outsider battling an ancient, hostile system, it would serve as the ultimate confirmation of her belief that the royal family would never truly accept her or her children. The alleged decision to distance the children from their grandfather is therefore more than emotional. It is strategic, turning Charles's natural longing for his grandchildren into leverage, weaponizing family bonds in an ongoing Cold War. This deeply personal wound, quietly festering for years, now drives the wider conflict, transforming what appears to be a dispute over security arrangements into a symbolic battle over trust, loyalty, love, and betrayal, security, status, the monarchy, the ghosts of precedent. The soul of the crown beyond logistics, Prince Harry's fight over protection is also a constitutional landmine. After stepping down as a working royal, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee removed his automatic right to round. The clock police security, Harry is challenging that decision. He argues that, as the king's son and a former soldier, he represents a permanent and unique target. The government's stance rests on a century-old principle. Taxpayer-funded security is not a birthright, but a privilege granted to those actively serving the state. If Harry wins, that principle collapses. It would resurrect the dangerous in half-out model the Sussexes once proposed, and which Queen Elizabeth II firmly rejected, creating a new and unstable category of royal part public servant, part private celebrity, protected by the state but accountable to none. Along with the advantages of being classified as internationally protected persons, funded by British taxpayers, they would also be freed from the responsibilities that normally come with such status. Shielded by the UK government, they could travel globally, conduct commercial ventures, and market their personal brand, all while enjoying guaranteed safety. To palace traditionalists and senior officials, this represents the absolute worst-case outcome. Working royals like Princess Anne, who opens hospitals and meets military regiments on behalf of the crown, receive protection only during official duties. Yet her nephew could be granted the same protection while buying groceries in Montecito, whenever he chooses. Security specialists stress that the current system is not designed to leave the Sussexes exposed. It is an intelligence-led model tailored to real threats. If authorities determine that any visitor to the UK faces a serious risk, Ravek has both the authority and obligation to deploy police protection until the danger subsides. This has already occurred during a recent visit, when a detailed threat analysis triggered state security coverage. Harry, however, is not seeking reactive protection based on intelligence. He is demanding a permanent right to proactive, guaranteed security protection on demand without needing to justify or explain why. Critics argue this is about entitlement, not safety. It sidelines the judgment of professional security agencies in favor of his own and orders the machinery of government to operate at his command. The wider consequences could be enormous. If Harry succeeds, what would stop other non-working royals, or even distant relatives, from making identical claims? A flood of such requests could overwhelm both the political system and the public purse. It would also reinforce the perception that the Sussexes are constructing a rival royal court. With taxpayer-funded protection granting official legitimacy, they could operate in Britain with a level of status that directly rivals the working monarchy, staging their own events, hosting influential figures, and commanding headlines. While the King, Queen, and Prince and Princess of Wales carefully plan official ceremonies, the Sussexes could run parallel spectacles, draining attention and undermining the authority of the sovereign. It would challenge the supremacy of the crown itself, creating a competing power structure outside the control of Buckingham Palace. A brand on the brink, the Californian court in exile. To grasp the intensity of these demands, one must look beyond Britain to the sunlit hills of Montecito, California. After more than 6 years in the United States, the Sussex brand has reached a critical crossroads. The initial wave of fascination sparked by their dramatic exit and explosive interviews has steadily faded. Public approval in both America and, more importantly, Britain has declined. Their multi-million-dollar deals with Netflix and Spotify have delivered mixed results. As one commentator put it, the royal fairy dust is beginning to wear off. This makes a return to Britain far more than a casual visit. It is a geopolitical necessity. Without a visible, authentic connection to the institution, they criticize so loudly they lose their unique selling point. One critic predicted bluntly that without it, Meghan risks becoming just another middle-aged former actress running a lifestyle brand. They need to reclaim the magic of the pageantry they claim to reject. A dramatic headline-grabbing appearance in the UK would be a commercial windfall. It reminds people around the world who they are, or more accurately, who they are connected to. This sparks headlines, fuels news stories, and reinforces the storyline of their ongoing battle against the establishment, which has become their most profitable asset. Many believe this commercial motive explains the seemingly unreasonable demands. The request for fortress-like security is not only about protection, but about proving how important that protection is. It creates a powerful visual message that screams global figures in danger, keeping them at the center of public attention and elevating their perceived status. By insisting on the continued use of Her Royal Highness, they separate themselves from thousands of ordinary celebrity influencers and preserve the one feature that still distinguishes them from everyone else. The Invictus Games appear to be little more than a stage for the Sussex brand's re-entry onto the world scene, with the entire visit seemingly designed to generate the maximum possible media exposure. This behavior points to a deeper internal struggle. They do not appear willing to surrender the prestige and privileges of the institution they walked away from, even as they pursue the freedom and financial independence of life in America. That contradiction fuels a destructive cycle of resentment and provocation. Each refusal from the British establishment can be framed as persecution. Another insult, more proof that leaving was justified. The demands are made knowing they will be difficult and controversial. Their narrative of victimhood, survival, and profit becomes self-sustaining. But this strategy extracts a heavy price, not only from their family relationships, but from the long-term stability of the monarchy itself. Many royal watchers believe this marked Prince William's first decisive move against a rival court, the opening strike in a war between brothers. King Charles may be struggling as a father, but William is thinking like a future monarch. For him, this is not just a family dispute. It is a direct threat to the institution he has worked tirelessly to protect. The idea that his brother could establish a semi-official taxpayer-funded headquarters inside the UK is viewed at Kensington Palace as an act of outright rebellion. To preserve the crown's stability and authority, such a scenario must never be allowed. According to reports, William has reinforced his own court, signaling just how seriously he views the danger, hiring one of the country's top crisis management public relations experts is a clear sign he is preparing for a long war of narratives. This is not defensive positioning. It is a preemptive strike. The old royal motto says, "Never complain, never explain." William is no longer willing to follow it. He has watched the Sussexes dominate global opinion by telling their version of events, and now he is preparing to respond in kind. His greatest fear is the rise of a parallel royal court. This is not merely about headlines. It carries profound diplomatic and constitutional consequences. Imagine foreign leaders arriving in London, unsure whether to visit Buckingham Palace or the glamorous, media-savvy Sussex headquarters. Picture charities and NGOs forced to choose sides. Such a division would weaken the authority of the crown, breed instability, and erode the monarchy's role as a symbol of national unity. And for William, the man destined to safeguard that unity, stopping this outcome is not optional. It is his duty. From his point of view, it is obvious that royal philosophy has changed with time. William's outlook is shaped by the reality that he is next in line, even as his father remains emotionally conflicted by love for his son. Any compromise made today, in William's mind, will be something he must live with and manage in the future. During these years, Charles has watched the Princess of Wales endure intense public scrutiny and serious health struggles, while the Sussex situation has remained a constant, destabilizing presence in the background. Those close to William describe his resolve as unbreakable. He believes the monarchy must operate within firm, unmistakable limits. There can be only one king, one heir, and one clear route of service. Convinced that a half-in, half-out model would end in catastrophe, he is preparing his team to ensure it never gains a foothold in Britain. This is not only a conflict between two brothers, but a clash between two visions for the future of the House of Windsor. Harry's crusade, the monarchy's final courtroom battle, Judgment Day. The drama now unfolds not only in palaces, but in the unforgiving chambers of the High Court. As part of this wider struggle, Prince Harry is fighting the British press, most notably the owners of the Daily Mail, in a major legal confrontation. He has pursued his mission to reform the media with the zeal of a recent convert, and this lawsuit represents the peak of that campaign. In doing so, he risks what remains of his public image and the fragile goodwill of his family, filing a string of aggressive and controversial legal claims. Critics point out that some of his witnesses include convicted criminals and individuals who have previously changed their stories. The royal family is deeply uneasy. Traditionally, the monarchy avoids public courtroom warfare. Many view it as disastrous for the king's son to expose private family conflicts while battling a powerful media empire. It tarnishes the crown and undermines its carefully maintained image of restraint and dignity. King Charles, already unwell, is said to oppose the lawsuit, yet sources insist Harry will not retreat, convinced of the righteousness of his cause. His legal strategy, risky and confrontational, highlights how isolated he has become. Despite the millions spent and the damage to his reputation, he appears unmoved by the consequences. Critics argue that lawyers are exploiting him for profit and publicity. Psychologically, he seems trapped in a cycle, forever needing new dragons to slay to prove he has escaped the shadow of the monarchy. Prince Harry has become a professional activist, with the British press as his primary enemy. The outcome of both the security case and the lawsuit will be decisive. Defeat would be humiliating, financially ruinous, and devastating to his credibility. But victory could be just as dangerous, emboldening him, strengthening his claims, and almost certainly triggering further legal battles. It would permanently sever what remains of his ties to much of the British establishment and extend the Sussexes' public war for years to come. In trying to destroy the press, Harry may ultimately be destroying himself. The bitter irony, as the court proceedings grind on, the House of Windsor is trapped in a storm of its own making, unable to escape. Accusations fly, the world watches, wondering whether both the family and the monarchy itself can survive what lies ahead. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts below, and goodbye for now.